Hello and welcome back to Learn and Apply. Today we are going to talk about how to set positive limits and boundaries for your child. It's a fact that every child thrives best when there are limits, rules, regulations around them. Yes, I know that in every home there are limits, there are boundaries. But the question is, are they positive or negative limits or boundaries? Where these limits and boundaries are not affecting the child in a positive way, then they are negative boundaries. And where these limits and boundaries affects the child in a positive way, then it means they are positive boundaries. So this video is going to focus on the best way we can set positive limits and boundaries for our children. Now, home is where your child should be allowed to explore, experiment, feel loved, feel belonged, feel secured, feel safe, and protected. That is a home. Home is where your child develops and nurtures their personalities, builds self-confidence and a sense of self-independence. So no wonder we often say that home sweet home. It is your responsibility as a parent to provide the enabling environment for your child to strive at home and to prepare them face the world. One major way that you as a parent can ensure this enabling environment for your child socio-economic and psychological development is by setting positive boundaries and limits around your child. Here I'm focusing again on positive boundaries and limits. Okay? Now, how do we set these positive limits? First of all, let's as parents always remember that limits and boundaries are meant for your child, not you as the parent. Therefore, it is important that these limits take into consideration your child's opinions, commentaries, and inputs. This way, your child feels seen and develops sense of ownership of these limits and boundaries. If you go sit at your corner and Google what, for example, is sleeping time for a 9-year-old, and then you try to impose that on your child, be rest assured that it's not gonna work. So the child's opinion and inputs must be central to these limits and boundaries that you're trying to set in. And how do you achieve this? It's through dialogue. Sit with your child, ask questions, give suggestions, get inputs from your child, and then you have it. The next way to set positive limits for your child is to make these rules, regulations clear, concise, and positive to meet the child's understanding level. You must not have rules with very complex details, too many details and layers. This way, it makes it very difficult for your child to process these limits and boundaries. And then the third way to set positive limits is to be concise, consistent. Rules come with consequences. Reward your child when they follow the rules, and take away some privileges when they break these rules. So if you tell your child that the use of mobile phone during dinner is not allowed, and that if the child uses mobile phone during dinner, then they forfeit usage of the phone that particular day, then that becomes the rule, and you must be consistent, firm, and tough to implement it. When you are consistent, then there is predictability in limits and boundaries. This makes it easier for your child to follow these limits and boundaries. The last I would like to talk about is that limits and boundaries must be logical. Consequences must fit the unwanted behavior, and do not use physical punishment or torture to correct your child. Rather, take away privileges and do not overreact when your child fails. Be willing to be flexible, at the same time firm, and adjust these limits and boundaries as your child grows, so that they don't feel framed in and find it difficult to live properly. Yes, there you have it. Positive boundaries and limits, not negative boundaries and limits. See you in the next video. Bye.